So first of all, I want to lift up the departure of one of our valued board members, Dennis Battine. Dennis served 9 years on the South Dakota Community Foundation board. He was on our investment committee, and he was also involved in our land management task force. Dennis and Linda are great friends, great supporters of the South Dakota Community Foundation, and we're going to miss his leadership on our board, but are happy that Dennis has agreed to stay on as part of our land management task force. So we did bid farewell to Dennis after 9 years of service. We had 6 members that were reelected to our board in October. Marcy Burdick from Rapid City, um, Governor Dennis Dugard from the Del Rapids area, Linda Erickson from Sioux Falls, Marilyn Grossenberg from Winter, South Dakota, Don Roby from Watertown, and Sean Rost from the Rapid City area as well. So really happy that those 6 board members were reelected to serve another term on our board. And just as a reminder, our terms are 3 3-year terms. So hoping to keep them around for all 9 years that they're eligible to serve. We also elected 2 new board members. Suzanne Feist from Rapid City joins our board, as well as Robert Foberg from Aberdeen. So really excited about welcoming them to the South Dakota Community Foundation. We've had relationships with both of those individuals in years past, and we know that they're going to be a great addition to our board as well. So excited to welcome them to the organization and to our team. We also had election of officers at our October board meeting. Governor Dennis Dugard was elected to serve as chair. That's a 2-year term. Don Roby from Watertown will be his vice chair. Bob Sutton, many of you know, former CEO, will be our treasurer. And then I will be the esteemed note taker for the group. So I'll be serving in that role as secretary again. So very pleased to get to partner with these individuals as they lead our executive committee and our board of directors in the next coming 2 years. Let's get right into grant making. Of course, the South Dakota Community Foundation is just celebrated 38 years, and grant making is a hallmark of what we do. Simply put, we raise money, we invest money, and we give it away. And the South Dakota Fund is our oldest grant making endeavor. Started a course back when we had a challenge opportunity to raise dollars that were matched by the McKnight Foundation and the 3M Corporation. Those dollars seeded our South Dakota Fund, and we've been making grants since that time. So last year in 2025, we awarded $1.1 million from the South Dakota Fund. Those grants range from $2,000 to $50,000. We accept applications throughout the year, and we also announced a very specific initiative in the last half of 2025 around help with filling in some of those federal funding gaps that our nonprofit partners were facing. But here's a breakout of where our dollars went in 2025. You can see large portion of those dollars went in the human services area as well as economic development. We rounded that off with health, education, financial literacy, and cultural programs. So a very broad representation of the types of grants that we're awarding. And I'd also note that economic development was one of the key components of that original corpus that we raised back in 1987. So the dollars from the Future Fund and the dollars from the 3M Corporation were earmarked specifically for economic development efforts, and very important to the work that we're doing across South Dakota. Following up on the federal funding gap initiative then that we announced in the second half of the year, this came about in conversations that our board had in May. And so in an effort to help our nonprofits adapt to some of the cuts that they were facing, we pivoted and emphasized, prioritized grants in this space. And so we awarded nearly $500,000 to 15 nonprofits in the second half of 2025, specifically to help them meet some of the gaps that they were facing in the federal funding cuts. So if you were serving the statewide, those grants could top out at $50,000. If your funding was more regionally based, those grants were up to $30,000. And if you were more locally based, in one or single community, we'd be at that $20,000 threshold. So we rolled this out rather quickly. Kudos to to Ginger Neiman and to Stephanie Harmon for rather quickly building out this program along with our grant making committee and board to make sure that we could respond in a very precise and efficient way. We're excited to announce 3 new initiatives in 2026. And our board has long studied different areas of impact that we want to have in our communities across the state. And in 2026, we're prioritizing 3 specific areas for these initiatives. Child well-being, which will encompass and address issues around the well-being of children at all stages of development. Housing, which will support for the development, access, and sustainability of affordable housing options for all people in South Dakota. And workforce development, programs and strategies aimed at enhancing workforce skills and improving employment opportunities. So these 3 are common topics that we are encountering in communities across South Dakota. We see them not only in our grant applications that come in through communities, but also the work that we're doing in our community savings accounts and the community partnerships that we have. These are our continual efforts, and our board has decided that we're going to make really focused intent on trying to move the needle on some of these issues. So that is now open in 2026. The grant range is higher than you've typically seen before. So these grants will go up to $50,000 if you're at a development phase of an idea that could address one of these 3 issues, or up to $100,000 if you're at an implementation phase in one of these 3 areas. So we're really excited to see some of the caliber of requests that have already started to come in and the questions around this program. And we look forward to having more conversations and doing more work with our board in these spaces. So make sure you check out this grant initiative. I've included the link here, and this information is all available for you on our website. Other exciting thing that we're piloting in 2026 is a project, a connecting point between our donor advised funds and our South Dakota Fund grant requests. So we manage, over 150 donor advised funds, and we want to make sure that they have an opportunity to be connected with some of the ever-changing needs across our state. So this is a pilot project in 2026 where we've got more than a handful of donors who have said, yeah, we want to see how this works. So we've captured their interest through a simple survey, and then the donors get a chance to review those applications online through our grant making portal. And our real effort here is we'll get all the kinks worked out in this pilot phase, but we'd like to form a stronger connection between the resources that our donor advised funds have and helping them deploy some of those resources in spaces where we receive grant requests and have unmet needs. So stay tuned to this. I think we've got 13 to 15 donors who have opted into this program right now. They each get a window that they go out and review the requests that match up with their needs, with their goals rather, and their interests. And then they can determine from their available dollars if they want to make a contribution. And this is in response largely to a lot of not only helping serve our donors better, but of course helping serve our nonprofits better. We often get requests and inquiries about how can we connect with your donor base, and this is a first step in that direction. So we're really excited about this project, and again, hats off to our grant making team for getting this off the ground. And then just a reminder on ongoing programs, our Beyond Idea grant, another competitive grant making program that we administer here. And this is in partnership with the Bush Foundation. It's community-based problem solving. So if you're in working towards solving a problem in your community, defined however you've deemed that, we encourage you to take a look at the Beyond Idea grants. So last year in 2025, we received 143 applications. We awarded 14 grants totaling about $1.2 million. Those grants ranged from $5,000 to $100,000. And there you can see the breakout in the purpose of those grants. So the largest portion going to support different health initiatives, and then social service initiatives, housing, economic development, and education. I don't think this would come as any surprise to folks who are working in this space at all. Our other partnership, of course, with the Bush Foundation is the Bush Prize. Oh, I better hold on a second. I have some updates to 2026. I want to make sure everyone understands or knows the dates for the 2026 Beyond Idea Grant Program. There'll be, again, one cycle. There'll be a 1 month application window. So this is a little bit shorter. That application window will be June 1st to June 30th, with a hard close on June 30th at noon, Central Time. Then we will make the award announcements in November. And again, the same amount available as years past, $1.2 million. And this partnership was announced back in 2021 and will go through 2027. And then we move on to the Bush Prize, which is our other partnership opportunity through the Bush Foundation. And we've seen some changes over the few years that we have administered this, but moving into 2026 is going to look a lot like it did in 2025. We're really looking to celebrate organizations with a track record of transformational impact through their creative solutions. So the change in 2025 that will carry forward to 2026, there are 2 awards. You might remember when we first launched the Bush Prize, there was actually 1 award that we were able to actually share among 2 different organizations because some additional funding came available through the Bush Foundation. And then our second year, it was one $500,000 award. And then starting in 2025, all of the intermediary partners in conjunction with the Bush Foundation agreed to award 2 $250,000 grants to the honorees. So in 2025, we had 100 applications submitted to us, and there were 5 finalists chosen. The 2 honorees were Abbott House and Youth and Family Services. The other 3 finalists, which included Fork Real Community Cafe in Rapid City, Helpline Center, and Promising Futures Fund, all received $10,000 for their participation and the effort and that goes into that process. So congratulations to all 5 of the organizations that made it to that finalist round. We appreciate all of the organizations that applied as well, and you can see it's a very competitive program. And we're looking forward to crowning 2 honorees again in 2026. That application window will be April 1st through April 30th. Hard close on April 30th at noon. The finalist selection will take place in August, and the announcements will be made in October. And again, 2 $250,000 grants will be awarded. So for more information on this, again, the link is included for you, and you can certainly go out to our website and just look at the grant section. All of these dates have been updated. They're all available for you. So if you don't want the pain of going through and watching this all over again to find these links, I direct you just to our website. A couple of other competitive programs within our grant making space are nonprofit savings accounts and our community savings accounts. Our nonprofit savings accounts are a competitive program that awards a challenge grant to nonprofits who are seeking at building an endowment. So the challenge component is if they are successful in receiving a nonprofit savings account grant, they receive $1 for every $4 raised, up to $20,000. And then our community savings account program, which most of you are familiar with, and really a flagship, a cornerstone of the South Dakota Community Foundation, is an awarding competitive grant program, of course, again, that allows communities to build endowment funds with us. And again, a $1 to $4 competitive opportunity or challenge opportunity, and repeat challenges. We raise the threshold from $1 to $8. And we're going to talk more specifically about how our partnerships with nonprofits and communities is really taking hold and having great success across South Dakota. The last, but certainly not least, of our competitive programs is the Fairy Godmothers Fund. And this is something I wanted to make sure everyone is aware of. It's an endowed fund that's managed by an advisory council of women from across the state who take in and review referrals from agencies or organizations to help address just immediate needs that women in crisis are facing. So these are small grants. This is a really grassroots program. We'll accept referrals from agencies or organizations, no self-referrals in this program at all. And the grant awards will be up to $1,000. This is a very quick turnaround. We're really hoping that our efforts are successful in getting those dollars in the hands of women and individuals who are in a crisis situation. So the group, the advisory council, did some strategic planning in 2025. And they have 3 goals that they're really working on in the next 2 years. And that is to grow the endowment that helps feed this opportunity to make these emergency grants to individuals, to increase the number of gifts that receives, as well as the number of referrals that are being received, so we can help out as many individuals in need as we possibly can. I just wanted to highlight some of the outreach and awareness that our grant making team is embarked on, as well as the rest of our team here. But here's just a glimpse of some of the activities that we put on or hosted in 2025. Ginger and Stephanie have hosted several good grants guidance sessions. Some of those are standalone events, some are in conjunction with other events, but they're a great opportunity for nonprofits to learn more about our grant programs and what's available to them, and how best to proceed with an application. We're also getting geared up for grantee convening in April of 2026, where we'll bring together grantees to talk about their shared experiences. We have a variety of ways that we provide grant support to prospective applicants. We work really hard at providing grant recipient support and feedback calls whenever we possibly can, whenever there's interest, I should say. Ginger and Stephanie are adamant about making sure that any applicant who has not been successful in receiving a grant also is entitled to a feedback call, so we can share more information about them and set them up for the best path for success in the future. And then, of course, we've been conference presenters at dozens of conferences across South Dakota in 2025, and we'll continue that on in 2026. So you might get exposure through a conference you're attending. If you're hosting a conference and you want to have the Community Foundation be part of that agenda, please let us know. We're happy to take advantage of every opportunity that we can to get the word out about our grant making programs and about the work that we're doing here at the Community Foundation. Also, some pictures here of several check presentations, press release excerpts. We take advantage of any way we can to get the word out about the South Dakota Community Foundation. And so here's just some highlights of our committee, our team, and our board members all in action. I also want to talk a little bit about our scholarship programs. The South Dakota Community Foundation administers 360 individual scholarship funds. That they awarded 947 scholarships last year, totaling over $1.2 million. The thing I want to make sure everyone understands, each one of those scholarships has its own selection criteria and their own selection committee. So we launched in 2025 a new online application process, one that really allows individual students to come in, fill out their application. The online process does some filtering and then matches those students up with all of the applications that we administer, all the scholarships that we administer that they're eligible for. So unlike, with any new program, there were a few bumps in the road, but I think I just want to give a huge shout out to Kelly Nelson, our scholarship coordinator, who worked diligently to make sure this program was running as smoothly as possible. And we've had a tremendous amount of positive feedback, not only from our young people who are applying for these grants and finding it to be much easier to see all of the opportunities that are available to them, but also from our scholarship fund holders who really saw an increase in interest in some of those scholarships because we were making it easier for those students to complete those applications. So that was a big change for us in 2025. It was a huge undertaking. And again, kudos to Kelly and the people on our rest of our team who helped make that happen. Another large part of our scholarship program are actually some larger designated funds that are earmarked specifically for scholarships that we have a hand in administering as well. So the South Dakota Education Access Program is a partnership that we've had with an entity out of the Aberdeen area for several years now. They support needs-based grants and educational programs, including college access advising. They award about $3 million a year to needs-based students. And then, of course, we have the Build Dakota Scholarship Fund, which supports technical education in 10 high-need workforce areas. Those awards are made by the technical colleges. And in 2025, over $5.5 million was awarded from the funds that we manage here. And then the other part of the success story of Build Dakota are the industry partners. So an additional $4 million came in through industry partnerships. 98% of Build Dakota students have an industry partner that's helping cost share with their tuition and expenses, which allows additional scholarships to be awarded because of that cost sharing mechanism. What's great about that is young people leaving and graduating from the Build Dakota Scholarship Program, not only through successful completion of their terms, leave debt free, but they also leave with a job through that industry partner model. And then the Freedom Scholarship took a lot of components from the Build Dakota Scholarship, but applied them to four-year universities. So this is a needs-based scholarship for public and private schools in South Dakota. The awards are made by the universities. And in the 2025-26 school year, over $6 million was awarded through the universities in South Dakota. Both Build Dakota and Freedom have that 3-year work requirement. So at the same time that we're helping increase higher education across our state, we're also helping establish and build out workforce development in critical high need areas across the state. So important components to note about the Build and the Freedom scholarship funds for sure. So we take a 30,000-foot view on our grants that we awarded last year as an entire organization. We awarded over $40 million in grants. And you can see here the spaces in which we made those grant awards. So you'll see the scholarship over here on this side of the pie chart. Our donor advised funds making significant distributions across the state. So again, our efforts to try to connect our nonprofits with some of those resources is really important. You can see that our community savings accounts are awarding about $2 million in their communities each year. Funds that donors have established and designated the beneficiaries on an annual basis to receive those dollars, about $6.8 million. And then you'll see our unrestricted efforts and special projects round out the $40 million in grants that we were able to disperse across South Dakota. And of course, these dollars come because of development efforts. And so just giving you all a glimpse at what our development efforts look like in 2025, we currently manage 1,351 total funds. We established 65 new funds in 2025, and that comprised almost 4,000 individual gifts. So I give great credit to Jennifer Schutzel for being the individual who not only processes all these gifts, but then also issues the grants on the back end. And I know JC Edema on our administrative team has just gotten involved in this space as well and doing a phenomenal job of keeping up with all of the generosity that's taking place here in South Dakota. So the types of gifts that we're able to facilitate and facilitated last year include cash, stock, investment holdings, land, and tangible personal property. I call these out because I think it's really important for our communities and our nonprofit partners to understand that if people are approaching you with unique gifts that they have to give, you may not have the mechanisms in place to accept all of these types of gifts. Please reach out to the Community Foundation. We have an experienced staff and we have a team that's ready to accept any type of gift and then turn it into resources that you can use at your nonprofit. So we do believe that all the ships will rise on the high tide. And so when we can help you facilitate these types of gifts and that can benefit your underlying mission, that's a role that the South Dakota Community Foundation wants to play. Assets by fund type, just broadly, our endowed assets are now tipping the scales at $1.2 billion. And then we have some other types of gifts, including land and pledges that make up a component of this as well. But just a snapshot of how our dollars are invested here at the Community Foundation. You can see that predominantly we're an endowment-based organization, which means as funds are established here at the South Dakota Community Foundation, that corpus is staying in place forever, allowing a stream of income to go back to nonprofits, communities, and supportive scholarships forever. So that's the model. We've stayed true to that model. And we can see the path that's created for long-term sustainability and growth in our state. I mentioned our community savings accounts a little earlier. We have 90 community partners across South Dakota. Those community partnerships have about $67 million in combined assets. And donations in 2025 were $5 million, up almost $2 million from 2024. So we saw a great increase in assets flowing into our community savings account program just in the last year. The awards that those communities have made in the individual hometowns are $2 million, and that comprised of 664 grants to support local and charitable causes in their communities. The thing I really want to emphasize about community savings accounts is they are the opportunity for individuals and businesses to give back and support their hometown community. They're the opportunity for people to build a pipeline of resources that are going to continue to invest in the community. And time again, we've seen if you give people a chance to invest in their hometown, they will. So we had 4 communities meet their challenge in 2025. That included Armour, Burke, Kadoka, and Woolsey. 2 new communities were established in 2025, and that was Kadoka and Mobridge. And then we have ongoing challenges. So these communities are embarked on a challenge right now. They're working hard to make sure that they're successful in raising their challenge dollars to then leverage our match to them. So that's Gregory, Hill City, Jones County, Meno Olivet, Mobridge, Oacoma, Chamberlain, Pequanna, and Selby. So I know there's a lot of activity happening around these communities right now, and we know that they'll achieve their goal. So here's a glimpse of what that looks like across the state. You can see where we currently have community savings account partnerships and the general range. This will be updated for 2025 numbers. This is actually still through 2024, but we will update this with fair market values as of the end of the year. And I think on this map, the only community that we were missing is Kadoka, one of our newest CSAs. So to give you just a list of, we also had some regional conferences, some opportunities to partner with our community savings accounts, bring them in, share ideas, share challenges, and these are just worthwhile events that we host every year. We used to do one main conference, one statewide conference, and we started to do these more regional conferences in recent years. And so this year last year, I should say, in 2025, you can see all of the communities are represented through these events that our development team and staff hosted. So we had 4 regional conferences. We had, I think, we have greater attendance and participation at these conferences when we do them regionally than we do statewide. And I also think there's a lot of great camaraderie that comes out of having those regional conferences, making it easier for people to attend. And there's just a lot of great shared learning that comes through those. I mentioned our nonprofit savings account program a little bit earlier. We have 51 nonprofits that we're currently partnering with. We've awarded over $1 million in challenge grants to those to those nonprofit partners. In 2025, we made 7 awards totaling $140,000. So you can see that in the challenges awarded, the middle column. And we also had 3 of our nonprofit partners meet their challenges in 2025. And that included the Brookings Regional Humane Society, the Ronald McDonald House of Charities of South Dakota, and the Salvation Army Western Division. So each of those entities received a $20,000 matching grant from us because they were successful in meeting that challenge. And then we have 5 nonprofits that are currently in the challenge phase. AGC Foundation, Casey Tibbs Rodeo Center, Diamond Willow Ministries, Midwest Street Medicine, and the Pierre Fort Pierre Area Humane Society are all working with their donors and with our development team and making sure that they can successfully raise those dollars and start their endowed efforts. We also hosted some donor events throughout the year, so just wanted to give you a glimpse of these. We try to be as active as we can in communities across South Dakota in a variety of ways, whether it's Legacy Society events where we host our Key Club members and our other Legacy Society members, whether it's board members, staff members, CSA leaders, grantees. We even host some events out of state where we can connect with donors who no longer call South Dakota home or who spend a significant part of their time in warmer climates. And so we had events in Florida, Arizona, and California last year as well. So just wanted to give each of you a glimpse of the types of activities that we're embarking on to try to get the word out to as many of our donors and connect with them and connect them ultimately to our nonprofit partners. Our efforts to provide value to nonprofits take shape in a variety of ways. I've just shared with you 3 examples here. Jeff had hosted a gift and estate planning happy hour with one of our nonprofit partners, where together they invited donors to come and learn more, as well as nonprofits to come and learn more about how to build out an estate planning and a gift planning effort. And so there's a glimpse of that invitation. I got to be part of a really great conference that we hosted out in Rapid City that Beth Massa had organized, Real Talk, What Moves Philanthropy. This was an event where we had several panels throughout the day and brought experts in to talk about a variety of topics, everything from building and fundraising to board development and media and marketing efforts. So it was a really fun-filled and fast-paced day. And then over here, we have our last invitation was an event hosted in Sioux Falls where we brought in an opportunity to talk to Mark Littlecott. And this was also available via Zoom. And we could have nonprofits that participate and learn more about plan giving strategies and solutions. So we're working hard to try to bring a variety of ways for our nonprofits to connect with us as well as with their donors. Here's a few pictures of some events that or a few of the pictures taken at the events I mentioned on the previous slide. So a lot of great work being done by our development team, and sometimes I even get to play a small role in it. And it's just so worthwhile to see not only the attendance, but the questions that come out of it and the relationships that inevitably are formed because of those connections. Something new in 2025 is our affiliate fund program. This is new to us. We started in July of 2025. We brought a new team member on, Phil Adam. You'll get a glimpse of him in our staff slides a little bit later. But really what was driving our establishment of this affiliate fund program is we have several partners that we work with who maybe they were part of a private foundation, had a board of directors or another advisory council involved in the work that they were doing, and they need additional assistance from the South Dakota Community Foundation to help them solicit grant requests, host meetings, make sure that the work that they were doing previously has a home. And the South Dakota Community Foundation decided to build out this affiliate fund program to be that home, essentially. So we have a handful of partnerships right now involved in our affiliate fund program. And Phil and the operations team work to drive impact in that area. It relieves the administrative burden that often a board might otherwise have. We can bring some efficiencies that we have here at the Community Foundation through our grant making portal, and we can deliver more personalized service. And so we're really excited about where this is heading in 2025, and we've had a great reception to the idea so far. So really excited about where this might take us next. A glance at our financial information. This is something you're used to seeing if you participated in these previously. Over upper left corner, this is our dashboard. This is something we share with our board. It's something we share with our partners to make sure they know where we're tracking. And so 5-year investment return, you can see some history here. Year to date, 15.2%. That was through 12/31 of 2025. Our 5-year, 10-year, and 30-year history as well. You can see a glimpse of the last 3 years of contributions that have flown in to the foundation as well as the grants. So you can see 2025 was a big year for contributions for us. We had a couple of big partnerships that manifested themselves in 2025. And of course, when we're successful in the development phase, that really means that our grant making dollars are taking a big leap forward as well. So very proud that for the last 2 years, we've awarded over $40 million in grants. And because of the continued investments in our endowment, we'll continue to see those grants and that capacity expand in the years ahead. And our total assets and what they have done, we went basically in the last 5 years, we've more than doubled in size since the end of 20 to the end of 2025. I cannot say enough about the generosity of South Dakotans and their not only willingness, but ability and foresight in investing in South Dakota. They really want to make important and really life-changing decisions through making those endowment asset investments. So you're seeing that come to fruition in the financial status of the Community Foundation, and we're honored to be a part of them accomplishing their philanthropic goals. We often get asked about how do we go about investing these types of dollars. And so I always want to make sure we lift up our partnership, a very important partnership that we have with the South Dakota Investment Council. They don't administer our money for us, but we follow their asset allocation. So most of you are familiar with the South Dakota Investment Council as the investment arm for the state of South Dakota. All of the public pension funds in the state of South Dakota are invested by the Investment Council. And so with their help, we determine asset allocation as well as sub-equity allocation. And their model has proven over time to be in the top percent of pension fund managers across the state. So it produced growth for us over time. We have 3 objectives that we seek to fill out within our investment space. And that is 1, we want to protect our donors' initial investments. We want to provide a steady stream of income to charitable and nonprofit causes. And over time, we want that fund value to grow. If that fund value is growing, the distributable income to them is growing as well. And so it's those 3 objectives that we have in mind when we work with the Investment Council to determine that asset allocation. It's the same investment objectives that they have in mind when they're managing the state's pension fund. So we believe that in some times it might mean that we're a little bit more conservatively invested than others, but it's because this time horizon is forever. And we firmly believe in the opportunity to build those assets slowly over time to make sure that the nonprofits and the communities that benefit from them are able to receive that steady stream of income over time. So in 2025, we had a 15.2% return. So what happens is those dollars get banked into their fund. Our distribution rate is 4.5% a year. So everything above and beyond the distribution rate and fees gets credited to the fund. So that's in years like this where we can see some really great fund growth happening. And again, over time, those distributable income for each of those nonprofits and communities grows with it. Well, just a little Washington update. Some things we want to make sure that are on your radar as far as we're heading into 2026 and some just adjustments. Some of these are just annual adjustments that get made, but the IRA qualified charitable deduction, that's an indexed amount. In 2026, that went from 108,000 last year to 111,000 this year. So for individuals that are 70 and a half or older who are making direct rollovers from their qualified plans, from their IRAs, they can now roll over up to $111,000. It helps them meet their qualified minimum distribution and without increasing their income. And it makes a great gift directly to charity. So we're facilitating a lot of these anymore. IRA life income rollover is indexed to 55,000, meaning if you are allowed one time to take money from your IRA and move it into an income producing or income generating stream for yourself and through a charitable remainder or charitable annuity trust. So that is indexed up to $55,000. The standard deduction increased for 32,000 and change for joint filers. Gift tax exclusion is $19,000 per person in 2026. And the gift and estate tax exemption went up to $15 million per person. I think the takeaway here is that 99% plus of estates are not subject to estate tax. These are very high thresholds. And so the idea that people might be making and including charity to avoid estate tax, that just doesn't apply to a lot of people, which means we need to make sure that we're doubling down on mission being the driving force when we're messaging to donors about the importance of supporting nonprofit and charitable work in our state. There are several provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill that were also worth mentioning. There is a $2,000 non-itemizer universal charitable deduction for married couples, $1,000 for individuals, meaning if you do not itemize, you can take up to $1,000 per person, $2,000 per couple for charitable contributions that you might make. It is about only 5% of South Dakotans actually itemize, so this applies to the other 95% who don't. It's not indexed for inflation. It starts in 2026. Donor advised funds do not qualify for this. So we have a lot of other funds that we can help direct our donors to, including our community savings accounts, designated funds, scholarship funds, but you cannot use a donor advised fund as the qualifying receipt of those gifts. There's also a 0.5% adjusted gross income floor on charitable deductions for individuals and 0.10 for corporations. And that also starts in 2026. So really what that is saying is if you do itemize, you need to get everything above the 0.5% threshold of your adjusted gross income will be deductible, but there will be a haircut on the level of giving at that threshold. And 1099 threshold increases from $600, which it had been at for years, and increases to $2,000. So you do not need to issue a 1099 unless you hit that threshold. And then there's a non-refundable tax credit for certain scholarships of $1,700. And the reason I included this, I don't want to get into the weeds on this, but we have had some inquiries, but SDCF will not be an eligible recipient for funds as it is described here for a variety of reasons. The way that's written, we would not be an eligible recipient for that $1,700 non-refundable tax credit if donors make those contributions to scholarship funds that we administer. Largely, states have to opt in. South Dakota has, but also a bulk of the activity around that entity needs to be 90% needs to happen in the scholarship space only. And the South Dakota Community Foundation would not meet that threshold. So most often states are really designating maybe one or two organizations as a whole to be the entity that would be qualified for donors to make that contribution and receive that tax credit. And then as I wrap things up and leave things open for questions, I just want to lift up the team of people that I get to work with every day. This team has grown a little bit in the last several years, but I could not be happier about the work that they're doing. While I flip through these slides, you'll see we have our development team, Jeff Beltcamp out in Sioux Falls, Beth Masson, Rapid City, Jamie here in Pierre, Pat in Aberdeen. And our newest addition to the development team is Ashley Hobbs and Mitchell. Really excited. You saw all the work that they're doing across the state. We add to our operations team. These are two new positions this year. I mentioned that we had an affiliate fund coordinator that we added to our team. That's Phil Adam. And then Mary Static Smith came on board and is leading our operations efforts. So really happy about the opportunity to build out what that looks like as our organization has grown. This has become a more important role for us, and really happy to have welcomed those two individuals to our team. Our program team, Kelly Nelson leads all of our scholarship efforts. Ginger Neiman, Senior Program Officer that leads all of our competitive grant making programs, and Stephanie Harmon, who works closely with Ginger in that competitive grant making space. Our finance and compliance team, led by our CFO, Clay Cudmore, we have Cassie Stoser, who is our controller, John Hanson, our senior accountant, Jennifer Schutzel, accountant. They have a lot of work to do as our assets have continued to grow, so is their workload. And then we could not do it without our administrative team, Shelly Jund, who is my right hand on every given day, and JC Idema, who joined our team this year. Really happy with the new additions on all aspects, and could not be more proud to work with these individuals. They are the first folks that you see or hear on the phone, and they do a great job in representing the organization.